Okay, Nicholas Vaughn asked, "What's in the bag? What's in my bag?" Well, okay, this is kind of fun. I'm just going to talk about these clubs a little bit and what I like about them and why they're in my bag. I'm not a nostalgia guy. I'm not playing old clubs because I'm nostalgic or anything like that. It's actually being a hitter and understanding the swing and ball striking. I hit these clubs because I think they're the best clubs. It has nothing to do with retro or nostalgia or, it's cool to play the old stuff or anything like that. I like heavier heads. I like stiffer shafts. I like thicker shafts. I get more feel in my hands from a thicker shaft. The lightweight shafts that are thin, I don't get the feel. Feedback, feedback, feedback is everything. Your clubs will be your best teachers. I want to be able to feel if I hit it slightly out to the toe or the heel or anywhere, high or low on the face. I want to know exactly where I'm hitting it so that next swing my brain can adjust and correct, become more and more precise, become a better and better ball striker to the point that it doesn't matter anymore when you're hitting the ball in the sweet spot all the time. And I don't need cavity backs and all this sort of thing. So we can start with my driver. And my driver is my favorite driver, a Spalding Model 28, and I'd had a custom Gamma Fire insert put in this thing, and this is just the most beautiful driver in the world. You can see the grain here is tight and it's straight and it's hard. A lot of the club makers and players back in the day felt that Spalding was cutting from the hardest persimmon trees. Now, as far as being a persimmon player or a purist, I play persimmon really because of the physics of persimmon, not because I play it for what I believe are the technological advantages of persimmon, not because it's necessarily persimmon, but because underneath the sole plate is a big chunk of lead, and that lead is it's going to go about maybe an inch and a half deep, and it's maybe the size of a quarter around, and it's right behind the sweet spot. So I want the weight right behind where I'm hitting the ball most of the time, which is on the sweet spot. That way I get the most feedback, and I'm going to get the best, most efficient transfer of energy, the mass into energy into the golf ball if the weight is behind the golf ball and not out on the perimeter like a big balloon driver or whatever. I don't believe in that technology for accuracy and feedback. This is better. Okay. Am I going to hit it as far? Well, no. But do I care? No, because I want to play golf courses correctly. I want to hit the ball the distance that the architect had in mind in the era that the course was designed. And I like to hit long irons into par fours a few times. It's challenging, and it tests my skill set across the boards. I want to hit long irons, mid irons, short irons, so that I can become the best player and striker that I can. That's how I view the game. Not so dissimilar to somebody that goes out and surfs and they like to surf certain kinds of waves and that sort of thing. It's not always a competition. It's just about trying to enjoy yourself, play things correctly and properly. So anyway, that's my driver. This is set up at a 48-degree lie angle. I have an extremely stiff shaft in this thing. I basically have a one-iron shaft that's been tipped about probably 6 inches or so. I have an extender underneath this grip. So this thing is a real telephone pole, and it has the same deflection rate. Well, I can't do that here, but anyway, if I were to hang an 8-pound weight on my club and stress this shaft, it's going to have the same deflection rate throughout all my clubs, from my driver, 2 wood, 4 wood, 1 iron, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to my wedge, same deflection rate. That way my brain doesn't have to memorize the different shafts in my clubs. I've put modern shafts on my deflection boards, and they're just all over the place or whatever because they're basing this on frequency matching, which is complete nonsense. Golf clubs are not musical instruments. We're not plucking the shaft and listening to it vibrate on the way down. I'm a guitar player, so I understand these things. We're going to flex the shaft one time on the downswing, and we're going to feel that flex and try and hold that all the way. I don't want one shaft going like this and the next one like this. I want them all the same. So that is why I set these clubs up the way that I do. Okay, the next club in the bag. tight head covers. Okay. All right, this is a MacGregor Velocitized 2-wood. Love this head. Basically, I have this set up the same length as my driver. It's the same club. It's just that this one has a little more loft on it, a little lower center of gravity. So if I need to get the ball up in the air, it's basically like a 3-wood, but a strong 3-wood. So if I want to hit a par 5 and 2, I can pull this out off the fairway. I use this off the tee a lot. If I want to draw the ball off the tee, I use this 2-wood. If I want to fade it, I always fade the driver. And the shaft is just a little bit stiffer in the driver. This one I can get up in the air a little bit, and I can just turn it right to left. So if I'm going to play, I think Phil Mickelson was carrying 2 drivers for a while, so I like that concept. One that hits it left to right, the other a little right to left. As far as all my clubs have the classic Crown cord grips. These are the great grips as far as I'm concerned. I've never made a better grip than these. You'll see these on George Knudsen's clubs if you watch any of the old Shells matches. George was big on that. 4-wood is always the most difficult club for me, was to find a good 4-wood. Look at this, just has a great looking head on it. I just love how it sits. Small head, I can dig this out of the rough or whatever. I've had all these flattened out, had to re-drill the holes and flatten them out. These all have 1-iron shafts in them, and they're all very stiff, and they're all in the same flexation rate. So weighted up, and these all sit nice and flat, just like my irons do. So there's no variation. Just keeping it simple. All my clubs will be the same here. Love that 4-wood. Yeah, the Velocitized MacGregor, an SS2 4-wood. Australian blade 1-iron. Never seen another one like this. Just love this club. Just a great club. I practice with it. I do a lot of my videos with it. I believe in hitting the 1-iron, practicing with the 1-iron, learning how to hit a 1-iron, because it's the hardest club to hit. And if you can hit a 1-iron, you can hit a 2-iron, and a 5-iron, and a 7-iron. Everything else is easy. Practice with a 1-iron. Learn to hit a 1-iron. You can hit any club. Fairway woods, driver, all become really easy when you get the skill set to hit a 1-iron. Practice with a 1-iron. Love the 1-iron, and this one is, I bent this one flat, added a little bit of weight to it, and yeah, this is just a, just a great club. Can't live without that thing. So getting into my irons, in this case, I'm hitting the Tommy Armour 985 Silver Scots. This would have been very similar club to what Hogan would have been using in the early 50s. I think he was hitting the Byron Nelson. He was on the MacGregor staff. I think he was hitting the Byron Nelson blades. Very similar to these. These are kind of considered the very top of the line great clubs of that time. And there's just no offset on these things at all. Absolutely, you can just shave with them. Just a true player's club, and I've bent these nice and flat, and they set up great. These just have the stock #1 shafts in them from MacGregor, true tempers that we're using. It was the age of steel. I think they really knew about steel. They knew how to. These are real forged clubs, not like when they say forged on the back of a club today, they're referring to the carbon content of the metal. They're not actually forging the clubs. They're getting away with calling them forged, but they're not forged. I don't think anybody's forging clubs that I know of anymore. If you know of someone that's actually forging the clubs, where they take a piece of metal and heat it and smash it, and not cast injection molding. I'm talking about forging. That's how these clubs were made in the age of steel. The best time to make clubs, I think. So these are just fantastic, and so I've got a whole set of these. There's the 6-iron, all these. I mean, I've spent hours and hours and hours just tweaking these things and getting them to just sit just perfectly with no offset on them at all. Just love how that sets. Everything's right down the 3rd groove. Again, the cord, classic Crown grips on these things. 6 degrees flat. Love the longer necks because I can adjust them more and get the lie angles when I'm putting them on the bench and wrenching on them in my loft and lie machine, having a little more neck on here. I can make adjustments to it. So yeah, really love the Tommy Armour Silver Scots. These 985s, just fantastic, fantastic clubs. Like a lot of the old blades, I'm a big fan of pretty much everything in the 50s I like. Can't really think of any of the blades that I don't like. They're all very, very good. Early 60s stuff. Some of the the stuff I didn't like so much started to come out more in the late 60s, early 70s, and then in the 70s, and you got all this kind of crazy stuff going on. Things got a lot lighter, but yeah, so anyway, these are all just set up just perfectly. The bounce, everything that I want on the golf club. Again, these have the really stiff shafts in them. 8-iron here. I like to actually just put a little bit of face progression on it into the lower irons, because to understand here, the more loft you have on the club, then the higher on the face the ball is going to come in contact. So if we take that leading edge and move it a little bit more forward into the shorter irons, then you're hitting the ball relative to the shaft line in exactly the same place. These are things that do make a difference when you're really hitting the ball good, and I'm having a day where I'm just rocketing it at the pin all day long. These are the kind of things that allow that to happen on those good days. So a lot of detail goes into that, and that's how I work on setting up the clubs for students that come and buy sets from me. We get this stuff really, really right. So anyway, that's the irons. Then we get into the wedge. I'm a big fan of these split sole wedges here. Just love this thing. This is a McGregor MT split sole. Yeah, it's been used a lot, but I just never found a club that sets up as good as this. A little bit of face progression, just a little bit down the left side of the shaft here. Love the split sole because I can dig it out all kinds of bad lies, and if I've got a hit, I can play them great off hard pan. They cut through the rough really nice. It's like a little razor on the front, and then you've got the split sole on the back. If you want to open the face up, you can. If I need to pinch one, I want to open the face up a little bit. I don't have a big flange on the bottom here where it's raising up the leading edge too much if I'm on hard pan, and I can end up eyeballing the golf ball. So this way you can open the face on those split soles. This is real like players clubs. They made sets, and I love the split sole sets too. The McGregor made fantastic. The McGregor MT split soles, and I think Nicholas blades, they had some split soles as well. I think they're Muirfield. I think they had a split sole on that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Love it in the wedge here. Love these irons. This is what I have in the bag right now, and I've been playing these for a while. The sand wedge here, yeah, this is a classic R90 here. This is one of the, not the ones that they made in the 70s, but this is an actual one from the 1940s. And the difference is the ones from the 40s are heavy. This 18 ounces. This is a big, heavy, heavy, heavy. And I use this when I'm in fluffy sand. I'm playing, a classic course with a big, beautiful fluffy sand, and you have a nice big flange on here, and this is just a great club for hitting out of the sand. Use this mostly for the sand. If I'm around the greens and I'm in some real thick grass, and I might use it. However, I do bend these upright so that when I open the club face, then I can drop my hands right down into where I would normally play from at around 56, 58 degree lie angles here. So I'd have this bent up. So I really never play a straight shot with this. It's always going to be open. And when you open the face, you then have to lower your hands into the regular plane that you'd be hitting the rest of your shots from. It's a concept that people don't really embrace, but they should, because it's the correct way to do it. It's absolutely better and easier, and certainly a better sand wedge setup like this. You want heavy when you're dealing with that kind of real fluffy sand stuff. Then I've got another sand wedge here. In this case, I usually just play with one or the other. Attorney Custom, but I like this one if the sand is a little bit stiffer, stiffer or wetter sand, that kind of thing. So this doesn't have as wide of a flange on the bottom. It's a little bit higher on the one edge than the leading edge. So I got some bounce here, but I got it thin too. So it's really good out of when I'm playing a course that doesn't have fluffy sand. It's got harder sand in it, that sort of thing. Then I pull this one. I take this club and I leave this one home. So these are basically set up the same. This is for one type of sand, like a fluffier kind of sand, and then this, if I'm playing, municipal course, and I don't know what the bunkers are going to be like, a little hard sand, wet sand, and this one's going to be better for that. Everything's the same with those. This is a Tourney Custom Sandwich McGregor, and I like that one. And then my putter, this is a whole nother conversation here, but it's a Tommy Armour Iron Master, and I basically set up my putter so that it is a golf club. It's basically just a little bit shorter than my pitching wedge. Has the same shaft flex in it. It's really stiff. I put a round grip on it like I do the rest of my clubs. I want it to feel like a golf club. I don't really carry a putter. I carry what I call a chip roller, and we work with the students on this. But this way I can use a chipping technique. I can set up to it, and basically I can putt the ball using the same technique that I would if I were to be chipping, accelerating. So we got a whole methodology on this. But this is great because I don't really have to practice putting anymore. In fact, I don't. So all I need to do is get a feel for the speed on the greens a little bit. I know how to read greens, so pretty good with that. And it's just all pace. But this way, I'm just keeping it really simple, and I'm just using my body, just turning flat like I do with the golf swing, and I just use the same thing. I use the same grip that I do with a driver. I use the same grip as a putter. I don't see any reason to be putting a different grip, having some kind of crazy grip or whatever that's completely different than the rest of my game. I don't believe in that. I believe this is better. We've got a whole methodology on this mapped out, and we've had just fantastic success with students that have switched over to this methodology that's really supported by Ben Crenshaw. You would see the great putter that turned level going through on his backswing. If you watch Crenshaw, his knees moved a little bit. All this stuff about keeping the lower body still, it's nonsense. You don't have to do it. The no wrist thing, well, a lot of the great putters had wrists in their stroke. We can use little wrists. Heavy putter, it's 18 ounces. It's the same weight as my sand wedge. Added a bunch of lead out here on the toe and flattened it out, so it's a 56-degree lie angle, so it just sets up like the rest of my clubs. I don't have to do anything crazy. I don't have to try to move this shoulder out and this one this way and all this kind of nonsense or whatever, trying to keep the blade square. I'm not trying to keep the blade square when I have a 1-iron in my hand. I got the thing wide open and I'm turning into it. I can just sit there and knife them all day long. Same principle with putting. Just get rid of all the craziness, all the nonsense, and just use a much better technique to roll the ball. Bobby Lockwood had a similar technique with the club, we coming to the inside, the face opening up, just hitting it with the body, turning into it, little wrist, all this sort of thing. So protocols for that, and so that's it. That's what's in the bag. That's why it's in the bag, and that's why I really don't have to practice a whole lot. I can go out and be confident that I'm going to play some pretty good golf without really practicing a lot, because I got great gear. It's set up perfectly for a hitter, and I can keep my swing in shape by just doing drills and impact bag stuff and the other stuff we do at advanced ball striking. Keep the body fit and engaged and moving correctly, and then when you put a golf club, it's like, oop, there it is, just bam, you go out and hit golf balls good all the time. And so that's it. That's what's in the bag. That's why I do it, and we'll see you at the next question.